What was it like to be a woman on a Viking longship, or a man in Genghis Khan's hordes, or queer in Hitler's stormtroopers? How did the ancient Sumerians have sex? And what about those outside the binary, like eunuchs in the court of Byzantium? That's the kind of stuff that we'll be talking about on this show. Welcome to the History of Sex. We explode gender norms by exploring their incredible variety across time. The History of Sex is sponsored by Dr. Gillian Kenny, historian of women, sex, and magic in medieval Europe. Hi, I'm your host, B.T. Newberg. In today's culture of gay marriage, trans rights, and ever longer acronyms, LGBTQQ, things can feel a little chaotic. It makes you long for the good old days, when men were men and women were women, and nothing could be more clear, right? Well, sorry to break it to you, but those days never existed. If there's one thing the history of sex teaches us, it's that sex and gender have varied fantastically across different eras and cultures. For example, did you know that the Nazis encouraged young women to bear a child out of wedlock for the fatherland? Or that pre-contact Hawaii had no such thing as marriage? Or that ancient Romans had no concept of orientation, only a vague sense of preference for one sex or the other? So that should already give you a pretty decent idea of what this show will be like. But let's get specific. What do we mean by sex and gender? Well, by sex, I mean sex like, male, female, non-binary, that sort of thing, as well as sex like, getting your freak on. We'll be talking about that too. Meanwhile, by gender, I mean how we perform our sexual identities. We're going to cover the whole spectrum from masculinity to femininity, straight to gloriously twisted, and everything in between and beyond. Now, before I explain the actual format of this show, I want to say a few things about tone. First, let me tell you, we are not going to beat around the bush on this show. There will be mature topics. I mean, honestly, you probably figured that out from the title of the show, but seriously, if you can't stand the thought of, say, two guys masturbating each other, well, you probably better just stop listening now. But if you want to know if Germans in the 1930s considered that a gay thing or just a natural expression of straight male development, then this is the show for you. At the same time, we're not going to be labeling this show explicit. This isn't porn, this is sexuality, and I want it to be appropriate for those somewhat younger folks who are still working out who they are, sexually speaking. And you don't do that by beating around the bush. You do that by being frank and forthright, so that's what we're going to do. Second, we're also going to have a healthy dose of humor because, frankly, I find this topic, if done wrong, can get stuffy real fast. But humor clears the air. Humor makes it okay to talk about uncomfortable stuff. In fact, some of the best humor wades into heavy, uncomfortable stuff. So listen with a light heart. We're going to make it fun. Finally, last but not least, I want to make a personal confession. I'm just a straight guy. That's not an apology, it's just a fact. Now, what cred do I have to be talking about this stuff? None. But I'm going to be pulling in guests when possible to offer different perspectives, and I expect to be schooled by some of them. I mean, I expect I might put my foot in my mouth from time to time, and if I do, listeners, I invite you to tell me so. We're going to learn this stuff together, you and I. Okay, now on to the format. What can you expect from this show? Well, our episodes will be both deep dives and quick dips. What do I mean by that? Well, deep dives are lengthy, meaty episodes that go deep into historical culture, and those will come out on the first Monday of each month. Some of them will be one-offs, while other may link to form a series. And each year, in fact, we are going to have an ongoing theme that dives super deep, like Jacques Cousteau deep. And this year's theme is sex in the Third Reich. So you can expect to learn about that from all different perspectives, women, men, queer, straight, the whole spectrum. Those will be coming out on odd-numbered months, while even-numbered months will feature a variety of cultures to spice things up. Now, what's that you say? Only one episode per month? Oh, no, dear listener, I wouldn't do that to you. In between the monthly deep dives, we're also going to have quick dips. Now, these are brief episodes that I like to call short shorts. These will explore little side topics and questions that don't quite fit into the tight narrative of the deep dive episodes, but which are immensely interesting. So nearly every week you'll have something headed your way. And we're also going to have showcase episodes. These will be featured episodes from other podcasts related to sex and gender to begin to link together and promote the few shows out there talking about this underserved aspect of history, to kind of start a community of this kind of topic. That's the plan, anyway. Of course, the easiest way to make the gods of podcasting laugh is to make a plan. So we'll see what happens, but here goes nothing. Finally, get this. We are going to have animations. That's right, animations. We've really pulled out all the stops for you this time. We've got the extremely talented Maxime Conradi to animate some of the short skits that will be featured in our deep dive episodes. And you can see those animations on our website, on YouTube, or on social media. Check them out. They are awesome. You can find our website at www.historyofsexpod.com. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Pinterest as @historyofsexpod, or you can reach me by email at historyofsexpod@gmail.com. Everything's History of Sex Pod. I tried to make it simple for you. All right, that's it for this introduction. Time to get you listening to something real. Our very first deep dive episode is going to be about hunter-gatherers. And not only that, but we're going to be taking a quirky angle on it, asking, if a zombie apocalypse made us become hunter-gatherers again, how would our sex lives change? It's kind of a fun way in to be able to talk about a bunch of historical hunter-gatherer societies and how sex and gender works for them and how it might be a little different than we're used to. It's going to be fun. Join me next time for that. I'm BT Newberg, and this is the History of Sex.